Almighty God, we give thanks to you, the creator of the universe, and humbly beseech you to direct and prosper the deliberations of the members of this house here assembled for the advancement of your glory and the trust and welfare of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Grant that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be established among us for all generations. Amen. Amen. Namaste.
Announcements by the Speaker, bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers.
The Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have the honor to lay the following papers. Paper number 1, the notification of Her Excellency, the President, in respect of the nomination of Mr. Junior Benjamin for appointment to act in the office of the Commissioner of Police. Paper number 2, the notification of Her Excellency, the President, in respect of the nomination of Mr. Kurt Simon for appointment to act in the office of the Deputy Commissioner of Police. Paper number 3, the 46th Annual Report of the Ombudsman for the period January to December 2023. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, I have the honor to lay paper number 4, the annual report of the Anti-Terrorism Unit for the period 2023 to 2024. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have the honor to lay the following papers. The executed investment loan agreement between the Corporación Andina de Fomento, or CAF, and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for the project for the strengthening of the Export-Import Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, Exim Bank Limited. Paper 5. Paper 6, the Value-Added Tax Bond Payment Refund Amendment Regulations 2025. 7, the annual report of the Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago for the year ended September 30th, 2024. 8, the annual administrative report of the Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Center Management Company Limited as of September 30th, 2023. 9, the audited financial statements of Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Center Management Company Limited for the year ended September 30th, 2024. 10, the report of the Auditor General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on the financial statements of the Children's Life Fund for the year ended September 30th, 2014. 11, the report of the Auditor General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on the financial statements of the Southwest Regional Health Authority for the year ended September 30th, 2012. 12, the report of the Auditor General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on the financial statements of the Police Complaints Authority for the year ended September 30th, 2023. I beg to move that paper 9 be referred to the Public Accounts Enterprises Committee and papers 10 to 12 be referred to the Public Accounts Committee.
Honourable members, the question is that paper 9 be referred to the Public Accounts Enterprises Committee and papers 10 to 12 be referred to the Public Accounts Committee. All in favour say aye. Any against? The ayes have it. The Minister of Rural Development and Local Government.
Madam Speaker, I have the honour to lay the administrative report of the Point Fortin Borough Corporation for the periods October 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2015 and October 1st, 2015 to September 30th, 2016.
Leader of the House.
Thank you very kindly once again, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have the honor to lay on the table the following papers as listed on the order paper and supplemental order papers in the name of the Ministers of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries and Works and Transport. Paper number 15, the ministerial response of the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries to the 18th report of the Public Accounts Committee on the examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, NAMDEVCO, for the financial years 2014 to 2021, and follow-up on the implementation of the recommendations contained in the Public Accounts Committee's 23rd report from the 11th Parliament. Paper number 16, the ministerial response of the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries to the 19th report of the Public Accounts Committee on the examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, for the financial years 2014 to 2018. Paper number 23, the annual report of the Trinidad and Tobago Civil Aviation Authority for the year 2023 to 2024. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have the honor to lay the administrative report of the University of Trinidad and Tobago for the period October 2020 to September 2021. Thank you.
The Minister of National Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I have the honor to lay the annual report of the custodian on the operations of the National Forensic DNA Databank Custodian Unit of Trinidad and Tobago for the years 2021, 2022, and 2023.
The Minister of Planning and Development.
I have the honor to lay the annual report of the Caribbean Industrial Research Institute for fiscal year 2019 and the annual report of the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago for the fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
Reports from committees, Prime Minister's questions, urgent questions, question on notice, question for oral answer.
The Leader of the House.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are 6 questions for oral response. We'll be answering all 6. There are no questions for written response. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 37 to the Minister of National Security.
The Minister of National Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. According to information provided by the Commissioner of Police as at December the 15th, 2024, as a result of incomplete personnel records and other related matters, there are 847 police officers who are yet to receive their back pay for the collective bargaining period 2014 to 2019. It should be noted that the government has made and will continue to make all available resources available to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to complete this exercise and will continue to assist the police service to finalize this matter wherever possible.
South.
Madam Speaker, I don't know if the Minister can clarify which Commissioner of Police provided the information to him, but more importantly also...
Which is the question? Which is the question?
I am following through, Madam Speaker.
Okay, so there was not a question?
Yes, there is a question.
So one question at a time. Okay, so could you state what the question is, and then we'll see where we're going.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, taking into consideration that the Commissioner of Police told a Joint Select Committee on July 2024 that 1,500 police officers were still awaiting their back pay. As the line minister, can you inform the House what is the specific reason for these officers who are yet to receive their back pay?
So we're talking about I'm not going to allow all that preamble. We're talking about the 847 because that was the response.
Yes.
So you're asking, if you ask the question properly, then we allow it. You have another question you could ask.
Madam Speaker, could the Minister inform this House what is the specific reason that the 847 officers are yet to receive their back pay?
Thank you. From information available to me, there might not be a single specific reason. There might be a number of reasons, including, Madam Speaker, the computation of the arrangements where sick leave is involved on certain amounts of that. So it is those kinds of things and the availability of those records, Madam Speaker, that might have lent itself to the difficulty that has taken us to where we are now. Thank you.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 38 to the Minister of National Security.
The Minister of National Security.
Thank you very much again, Madam Speaker. According to information received from the Commissioner of Police, as at December the 15th, 2024, there are 198 retired police officers who are yet to receive their pension and gratuity entitlements from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. It should be noted that the government has made and will continue to make all available resources available to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to finalize these payments and will continue to assist the police service to finalize these in the shortest possible time.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much. Minister, could you inform this House of the number that you have just identified? Because the government had given a commitment in lieu of the computation of pension arrangements that an initial sum of $3,500 will be paid to persons who have retired and are yet to receive their back pay. Can you confirm if any of these, not back pay, but their pension entitlements, if any of these officers are in receipt of this $3,500 sum?
Minister.
I cannot answer that with any specificity, Madam Speaker, but I would be surprised if, as we had made arrangements to pay $3,500 in lieu of the final computations, if this was not being done. Thank you.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 39 to the Minister of National Security.
Minister of National Security.
Again, I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the question seeks information about the Defense Force and secondly, the immigration. In respect of the Defense Force, based on information received from the Chief of Defense Staff as of December the 15th, 2024, there are 125 former employees awaiting receipt of their terminal benefits, that is to say pensions and gratuity. Of this amount, the files of 75 persons are under active review by the Ministry's internal audit unit, while the remaining 50 are currently at processing stages at the Auditor General's Department and/or the Ministry of Finance. It should be noted that the government has made and will continue to make all available resources available to the Defense Force to complete this exercise and will continue to assist the Defense Force in this regard whenever and however possible. In respect of the Immigration Division, the Chief Immigration Officer has advised that as at December the 15th, 2024, there are no technical or administrative officers within the Immigration Division that are awaiting receipt of terminal benefits, pension and gratuity, so meaning. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Member for Couva South.
Minister, given the continued information in respect of the question, are you in a position to tell us, House, when this additional resources will be granted to the Defense Force and the Immigration Division to facilitate the payment?
All of my responses, Madam Speaker, suggested that this help has been, is continuing to be, and will continue to be made available to the Police Service, the Defense Force, and the Immigration Division. I thank you.
Minister, are you satisfied, given the cost of living and the challenges that retirees have to live with in Trinidad and Tobago, that the government is really doing its earnest best to deal with the issue that are being faced by retirees within the law enforcement agencies in this country?
Member, I rule that question out of order, having regard to what has been asked and what have been answered. Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, question number 42 to the Minister of Works and Transport.
Minister of Works and Transport.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to start by placing the highway expansion project from Chaguanas to Chase Village in context. The Uriah Butler Highway, originally named the Princess Margaret Highway, runs from Champlain to Chaguanas, at which point it meets the Sir Solomon Holtroy Highway. The highway was constructed in 1958 in order to connect Chaguanas to other commercial centers in northwest Trinidad. It was extended and renamed for Labour leader Tubal Uriah Butler in 1988. Starting off as a single-lane roadway in the 50s, it has since then developed into a multi-lane highway with 2 lanes on either side of Champlain and expanded into 3 from Grand Bazaar to Chaguanas. The Sir Solomon Holtroy Highway begins at Chaguanas, heading south of the island, ending at Gandhi Village, DB. The highway was named for Sir Solomon Holtroy, the first Caribbean-born governor of Trinidad and Tobago and the first Governor General of Trinidad and Tobago. Originally constructed as a 2-lane highway in the early 1970s, it was expanded to a 4-lane dual carriageway in the late 1970s. The work being done from Chaguanas to Chase Village is an expansion of a 4-lane highway to 6 lanes in keeping with the UBH and is a natural extension of the highway network upgrade started by this government from Colville Street in the north, CRH in the east, and the San Fernando to Point Fortin Highway in the south. In all the attempts at upgrade, the main challenge is working on a site which is already in use. There is inconvenience, experienced, and the ever-persistent risk of known and unknown factors in retarding progress. In this instance, the weather and fluctuation in working hours have caused delays by the ministry, but the ministry remains steadfast in providing improved infrastructure for the traveling public. Accordingly, the Sir Solomon Holtroy Highway project from Chaguanas to Chase Village is divided into 2 packages. Package 1 from Chaguanas to Brentwood, and Package 2 from Brentwood to Chase Village. Roadwork, including of median work and surface course asphalt, are expected to be completed by the end of February 2025. Slope stabilization and other ancillary roadworks along the acceleration and deceleration ramps of the Chaguanas overpass are expected to be completed by the end of March 2025. I thank you.
Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you. Honourable Minister, can you indicate, you mentioned 2 packages, can you indicate the nature of these packages in terms of the cost for the packages that you have identified?
Well, Member, having regard to the original question is time frame, I rule that question out of order.
Honourable
Member for
Minister, can you indicate
Yes.
whether there are any cost overruns that has been caused as a result of the revised time frame?
Madam Speaker, through you, no, there have been no cost overruns, and the projects are within budget. Thank you.
Member for Point-a-Pierre.
As a follow-up question, Madam Speaker, to the Minister of Transport, could the Minister state what was the reasons for the delay in completing this extension from Chaguanas to Chase Village, because it was supposed to have been completed a while ago?
Sir?
I actually did indicate that in the answer. the challenges are when you're working on a site that is already in use and you have limited time to work during the day, and then we had weather constraints. So those are the reasons for the delay. Thank you.
Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, question number 43 to the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government.
Minister of Rural Development and Local Government.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank the honourable member for the question. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government is committed to fulfilling its mandate of constructing and maintaining all secondary roads and drainage networks under its purview. It is on this principle the Ministry has placed great priority on all of its projects, which include the road works to be completed at Edinburgh Road, Carson Field. To ensure works are completed in an expeditious manner, the project will be executed by the Rural Development Company of Trinidad and Tobago. The project scope consists of coal milling, paving, and the marking of the roadway. It is the Ministry's intention to have the roadworks commence and completed within the first half of calendar 2025. It's anticipated that the procurement cycle for the project will be completed in early March 2025 with the award of the contract. Further to this, it is estimated that the works will be executed within a period of 6 weeks.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 44 to the Minister of Public Utilities.
Minister of Public Utilities.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Water and Sewage Authority has advised that the authority is collaborating with the Ministry of Works and Transport in the execution of the project with a view to having it prioritized and included in a program of works for execution in this fiscal year.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, given the Minister's explanation and answer to this question, and based on his last promise in 2023 that this project would have been done in 2024, Minister, can you give a specific timeline in this fiscal year when this project will be conducted and completed?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me reiterate that the Ministry of Works and Transport and the Water and Sewage Authority are collaborating to ensure the execution of this project in fiscal 2025.
Government business, motions.
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Whereas Section 123, subsection 1, subsection A of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Constitution, provides that the Police Service Commission shall have the power to appoint persons to hold or act in the office of Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police. And whereas Section 123, subsection 3 of the Constitution provides that the Police Service Commission shall submit to the President a list of the names of the persons nominated for appointment to the office of Commissioner or Deputy Commissioner of Police. And whereas Section 123, subsection 4 of the Constitution provides that the President shall issue a notification in respect of each person nominated under subsection 3, and the notification shall be subject to affirmative resolution of the House of Representatives. And whereas the Police Service Commission has submitted to the President the name Mr. Junior Benjamin Deputy Commissioner of Police as the person nominated to act in the office of Commissioner of Police. And whereas the President has on the 31st day of January 2025 issued a notification in respect of the nomination, and whereas it is expedient to approve the notification, be it resolved that the notification of the President of the nomination by the Police Service Commission of Mr. Junior Benjamin to act in the office of Commissioner of Police be approved. Madam Speaker, this is one of these days when the government wish it did not have this responsibility. But this is the day when the government cannot create its own pathway as to the steps to be taken for the appointment of an acting person in a position, in this case, the Commissioner of Police. Madam Speaker, this requirement of us being called upon to affirmatively deal with the intention of the Service Commission to make an appointment follows from some correspondence that went from the appropriate quarters through the system of the Police Service Commission, the Police Service, the Office of President, and now the Parliament. Madam Speaker, it would appear from the correspondence that I have in my possession that the Police Service of Trinidad and Tobago was engaged in an investigation. That investigation resulted in the Police Service reporting to the Police Service Commission on matters pertinent to the existence and operations and behavior of the Commissioner of Police. Because for that being so, on the 31st of January 2025, the chairman of the Police Service Commission wrote the following letter to the President. And Madam Speaker, I place this on the record of the Parliament. And with your leave, I would like to read this letter in its entirety. It is dated and stamped 31st of January 2025, addressed to Her Excellency Christine Carla Kangaloo, ORTT, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Your Excellency, nomination for acting appointment in the Office of Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Ministry of National Security. The Police Service Commission, in accordance with Section 123, subsection 2 and subsection 3 of the Constitution, and clauses 4 and 5 of Legal Notice number 277 of 2021, the Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police Selection Process number 2, Order of 2021, amended by Legal Notice number 278 of 2021, the Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police Selection Process number 2, Amendment Order number 2021, has nominated 1, Mr. Junior Benjamin, Commissioner of Police, for acting appointment in the office of the Commissioner of Police, Vice Ms. Urla Haywood Christopher, Commissioner of Police, who has been directed by the Commission to cease to report for duty and cease to discharge the duties of the Office of Commissioner of Police with effect from 31st January 2025. as a result of an ongoing investigation into misbehavior in public office. Mr. Kurt Simon, Assistant Commissioner of Police for acting appointment in the Office of Deputy Commissioner of Police, Vice Mr. Junior Benjamin, who is being recommended as one above. Mr. Benjamin and Mr. Simon hold the number 1 position on the order of merit list established and maintained pursuant to clauses 42.2 and 4.2, and 5.2 respectively of legal notice number 277 of 2021 as amended by legal notice number 278 of 2021. Accordingly, the Commission submits the names of Mr. Junior Benjamin and Mr. Kurt Simon to Her Excellency. Your Excellency also enclosed for your information are the resumes in respect of Mr. Benjamin and Mr. Simon. Thank you for the consideration of this matter, and please be assured, Your Excellency, of my highest regard. Yours sincerely, Dr. Wendell C. Wallace, Chairman. Signed. Madam Speaker, I read that in its entirety because a number of members in the public, either of their own volition or encouraged by conversation led by people who are either uninformed or just, I wouldn't say mischievous, just involved, but involved out of not knowing what they're talking about. So this letter summarizes the situation. The Police Service Commission, which is the constitutional authority for making an appointment in these posts of acting commissioner or deputy commissioner, the Police Service Commission followed the pathway, having come to a decision at the commission to advise the president that they would like to make this appointment. And I think this is a good point for, as head of the government, for me to make it pellucidly clear that this operation has absolutely nothing to do with the government. The government is a separate operating entity in this matter to the Police Service and the Police Service Commission and the Office of President. Madam Speaker.
I don't know. I'm hearing some loud talking. I'm not sure who it is. And I'll ask all members. Okay? All members, in going forward, if we could have, member, if we could observe Standing Order 53, please. Let's proceed.
Much, Madam Speaker. I was making the point that from the origin, where a police investigation, which by itself has absolutely nothing to do with the government, not knowledge, not consent, not operations, not responsibility, because we all know, especially in this House, and especially in the minds of many people who have been commenting on this matter, that the government of Trinidad and Tobago has no role whatsoever in directing the police as to who they should go after, who they should investigate, how the investigation should go, how they should arrest or not arrest. The government has absolutely no role in that. And on this particular matter, like others, the government will be informed about what the police is doing when the police makes it public. Madam Speaker, in this case, the police investigation, at whatever stage it is or was, the police informed the Police Service Commission of its operations. The commission takes no direction from the government, asks for no clearance or direction, and the Police Service Commission proceeded to advise the President as to what it would like to do with respect to the offices of Acting Commissioner and Acting and commissioner in the police service. So I put that on the record. The President, having received that correspondence from the Police Service Commission with respect to matters in the police service influencing the decision of the Police Service Commission, is now informed by that letter that a vacancy exists and the President is required to take the step to have that vacancy or those vacancies dealt with. So a notification comes to us in this House. And that notification, Madam Speaker, is dated the 31st of January, stamped, and it contains the recommendations of an officer to act as Deputy Commissioner of Police. And Madam Speaker, the matter, the notification says, as the process works its way forward, pursuant to Section 123, subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, it is hereby notified that the Police Service Commission, in accordance with subsection 2 and 3 of Section 123 of the said Constitution, and Clause 4.2 of the legal notice, number 277 of 2021, Mr. Junior Benjamin, Deputy Commissioner of Police, is to act in the office of Commissioner of Police, Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Speaker, as head of the government, today, I want to say again, make it very clear that in this matter that has blown up in the public domain, where from information that is in the public domain, it appears to me as Prime Minister and to the government that I lead, that the Police Service Commission has seen it fit to take action which has resulted in a vacancy arising at the level of Commissioner of Police, and we are called here to fill that vacancy by identifying the person that is identified to act in that position. And a similar thing would happen with respect to an acting commissioner. And the reason why an acting commissioner is required to be dealt with by the House is because one of the deputies, a deputy commissioner, as per the intention of the Service Commission, is being elevated to act as commissioner. So that leaves a vacancy behind of deputy commissioner, which the commission seeks to fill. Madam Speaker, the CV of Mr. Benjamin is well known to this House because in dealing with him recently for an appointment to the substantive position of Deputy Commissioner, this House received his CV and dealt with it. And some members of this House spoke very glowingly, and I presume that they still know him. And Madam Speaker, I want to make it clear that the government has no new information except what is in the public domain with respect to this officer, and views might vary. But today, because of how this matter is being handled, the government is in a very invidious position, where if we say no to this, we'll be accused of taking sides against this gentleman and in favor of somebody else. If we say yes to this, it will be said that the government wants this. I want to make it very clear to everybody in this country. On this day, on this occasion, the government is simply discharging its responsibility for the Police Service Commission to make the appointment that they want to make, that they recommended to make. want to identify it very clearly to you, Madam Speaker, that the Police Service Commission has something called a merit list. As a matter of fact, they have two merit lists. One for persons who are in, Madam Speaker, I have seen it written that there are two merit lists, one for persons who are in substantive positions or who are to be in substantive positions, and one for persons who are to act, given the layout of persons in the organization. Again, I want to make it very clear, notwithstanding all that you would have heard from people all over this country, especially some of them in the legal profession and members of parliament, I have never seen a merit list, not today, not before, never.
Again, I ask people to contain their volumes, please.
Madam Speaker, let me just, because I was interrupted by my colleague from Siparia, who seemed to be sitting on something uncomfortable there. Madam Speaker, I have never seen a merit list from the Police Service Commission or anybody. I have never spoken to anybody about a merit list. And therefore, when the Police Service Commission comes and says that they have chosen Mr. Benjamin because he's at the top of some list, they know that, I don't know that. I have nothing to put me in a position to know that. But I'm saying, because the law, the Constitution, requires that the Police Service Commission holds that authority to make an appointment, I have to assume today that the recommendation made by the Police Service Commission is worthy of support, and today I have no questions to ask the Police Service Commission, none whatsoever, except that a vacancy exists there, and it is to be filled by their recommendation, and I brought it here as a messenger sent by the Constitution. Madam Speaker, I don't want to go into any detail about Mr. Benjamin, who is in the position substantively of Deputy Commissioner and being selected by the Police Service Commission as their pick. I have not a line of anything to add or subtract because I have no basis. They've shared nothing with me. In fact, the last time we had a debate of this nature in this House, it was my friends on the other side, I think it was Naparima, who made a presentation saying that in matters like this, the Police Service Commission should make available information. That's a recommendation that has not yet come into law or into force. I'm still required to act blindly. And the only people who would have assessed Mr. Benjamin on this matter in the last few days is the Police Service Commission. And therefore, I have nothing to add or subtract, to improve or to denigrate. And Madam Speaker, on that basis, I beg to move.
Honourable members, I will now propose the question for debate. Be it resolved that a notification of the President of the nomination by the Police Service Commission of Mr. Junior Benjamin to act in the office of Commissioner of Police be approved. Member for Urupuch East.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very, very important matter that has been occupying the public attention for several painful days in the national discourse. Madam Speaker, I can't promise that I will be equally brief as the last speaker, but the Prime Minister did raise several issues in his untypical brief presentation, which I would like to respond to. The substantive motion before us speaks, without again taking the liberty to recite the entire motion, speaks to the appointment of a police officer to act in the office of Commissioner of Police. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister did not find it fit to place the events of today in the context of the events of the recent past. It has been, Madam Speaker, since last Thursday, a most disturbing, painful, anxious, and distressing period for Trinidad and Tobago, and more so the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and officers in the service. I was very happy that the Prime Minister chose, with your leave, to read into the record a very important piece of correspondence between the Police Service Commission, its chairman, Dr. Wendell C. Wallace, and Her Excellency the President. Again, it is not necessary for me to read the entire letter, since the Prime Minister, on this read aloud day, did read aloud the letter. So it is not necessary to do that, but to respond to the Prime Minister on some of the issues raised. Madam Speaker, the first question we ask ourselves here is, having been summoned to the Parliament urgently, hastily, and in circumstances of national disturbance, is there a vacancy today to fill in the office of Commissioner of Police? Madam Speaker, and I reflect on the letter that has been read into the public record by the Prime Minister. And I just quote one paragraph without again reading the entire letter. It's dated the 31st of January 2025, Excellency the President. It says that the Police Service Commission, in accordance with the law and so on, amended legal notice 278 of 2021, the Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police selection process number 2 amendment order 2021 has nominated Mr. Junior Benjamin, Deputy Commissioner of Police, for acting appointment in the office of Commissioner of Police, vice Mrs. Erla Harewood Christopher, Commissioner of Police, who has been directed by the Commission to cease to report for duty and cease to discharge the duties of the Office of Commissioner of Police with effect from the 31st of January 2025 as a result of an ongoing investigation into misbehavior in public office. Unquote. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister did not ask the question that the opposition asks. What is the effect of this? Is this a suspension pursuant to the Police Service Commission's rules and regulations? And I reflect on the Police Service Commission now, who have brought this matter to Her Excellency and Her Excellency properly relayed the matter in accordance with the law to the Parliament, to the House of Representatives. You see, Madam Speaker, the Service Commission's Department Police Service Commission Secretariat, by notice dated 5th October 2023, issued 9th October 2023, and this speaks to the acting appointment policy for the offices of Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. This is the policy guidelines of the Police Service Commission. This really spells out the framework within which the Police Service Commission operates that would generate their notification to Her Excellency, and in turn generate a motion on the order paper of the House of Representatives. This really is the backbone policy guidance. And I just want to read one section of this, Madam Speaker, that deals with the position of Commissioner of Police, where one is nominated through a meritless process and so on to act. And Madam Speaker, at clause 4.3, it says where the Commissioner of Police is or is likely to be absent from Trinidad and Tobago, this is the Police Service Commission regulations, where the Police Commissioner is on vacation leave, where the Police Commission is unable by reason, the Police Commissioner is unable by reason of illness or any other reason to perform the functions of Commissioner of Police, the Office of Commissioner of Police is, or is likely to become vacant. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister said in his statement, I took copious notes in his brief presentation, he says today, unlike I imagine other days, he's not questioning the Police Service Commission. He's here not to question them. I just reminded the Prime Minister, because I need to respond to that as well, very briefly, that the Prime Minister was very clear today that his role and the government's role is not to question the Police Service Commission. It is to look at their nominee. And the Prime Minister rightly said that the House, we met Mr. Benjamin before in debate, and I believe speakers on both sides of the House had no serious concerns about Mr. Benjamin. Apart from some really concerns in the public space within recent time, which we discovered that Mr. Benjamin is really something of a charismatic, energized and high-octane pastor. There's nothing new about Mr. Benjamin apart from his one or two sermons that have received public attention. That in no way brings to bear on Mr. Benjamin any adverse comment at all. But I want to remind the Prime Minister, if he can remember the names, Harold Phillips, Stephen Williams, Wendell Lucas, Neil Parker, Deodat Dolarchan, sorry.
Member, you know, I just want to guide you where we're going. We're dealing with a particular, a very specific, focused debate. We're not debating other people. We're not debating other matters that have gone. Okay? So I want you to stick to the confines of what we have. And something I've always mentioned before, not every peripheral comment, it becomes a substantive matter in the debate. Okay, please.
I will leave that there. I only mentioned that in passing because the Prime Minister had no difficulty today, whereas before he had a difficulty. The member had a difficulty. So, Madam Speaker, if I may be permitted to reflect again on the Police Service Commission's guidance, regulations, and policy, which, as I keep saying, brought us here. We are here because of the Police Service Commission and their role in the governance structure and in the constitutional arrangements to arrive at an acting Commissioner of Police. And we ask the question today that we are entitled to ask. Is the Commissioner of Police absent from Trinidad and Tobago? Is the Commissioner on vacation leave? Is the Commissioner ill? Is there another reason why the Commissioner cannot perform the functions of Commissioner of Police? That gave rise to our vacancy that brought us here. And while the Prime Minister may not want to question the Police Service Commission, in looking at Mr. Benjamin, who we have no difficulty with, we ask the question, is there a proper vacancy that the Police Service Commission attempts to fill? Based on their own guidance, not on any opinion, not on any inference, not on any conclusion, not on any casting aspersions on anyone. Based on their own policy, we are asking this. Because then, it means of what purpose, of what relevance? Why are we here today, Madam Speaker, if these questions cannot be answered properly? Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister indicated as well and made reference, the Prime Minister made reference, and when I make reference, Madam Speaker, to the words of the Prime Minister, it is not my intention at all to dwell or over-speak and spend too much time. It's just that I took some notes and I prefer to respond. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister placed on the public record the pathway steps that brought us here, that he had knowledge, it is in the public domain as well, so I don't imagine it's private knowledge, that the police service was engaged in investigations and they had concerns. The Prime Minister placed on the record that the Police Service Commission had concerns about the behavior, the operations of the incumbent Commissioner of Police. The Prime Minister said the Police Service Commission, PSC, raised matters concerning operations and behavior. And of course, that is also referenced in our January 31st letter, which summarized the position. And the Prime Minister, of course, went on to say the government is not involved. We have nothing to do with this. But, Madam Speaker, there was a note, there was an article brought to my attention, dated March 14, 2022, in the Daily Express. PM, it was me. PM confirms he was high-ranking official who met Police Service Commission chairman involved in another matter. I leave that there. I know, Madam Speaker, you would want me to move post-haste over that, because it's not really not central to this. But the Prime Minister has some track record of involving himself in matters concerning appointments of Commissioner of Police. He has some track record. So today, to tell us it is not I, it is not us, it is not the government. I don't know about Ujag. Oh, it wasn't me, something else. Madam Speaker, to tell us that the government plays no role. But yet, in the public space, there's an article in the, I believe, the Newsday of today, I believe, as well. And I'm just quoting in passing again. DCP Martin writes Rowley, writes a member for Diego Martin West, on sniper probe. PM, tell us what you know. The government is involved in this business. Since the chairman of the National Security Council is now center stage in explaining matters which the Prime Minister raised today. The Prime Minister, in his address earlier, made reference to a police investigation of which the Prime Minister may well become a part of now. One wonders whether the Prime Minister should have moved this motion in the first place or allow someone else to do it. But, Madam Speaker, the government is involved one way or another. They are involved. The other matter that I leave only with this heading of government involvement, because the Prime Minister raised this, is the incumbent Commissioner of Police, who we are now moving away, some will say throwing under the bus, but I imagine not even the bus is working in this country. The Commissioner of Police incumbent is there not because of the Police Service Commission. The incumbent Commissioner of Police is there because of the Cabinet and because of the Prime Minister. They extended on two occasions her tenure as Commissioner of Police.
I'm just asking to quickly tie that to what we hear, because I'm getting concerned that you're really skirting Standing Order 48-1.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, again, I want to leave that there rather than carry that argument further. Madam Speaker, this sordid affair has led us to the state where we must now reflect yet again, Madam Speaker, on the resume of police officer and committed and dedicated member of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Mr. Junior Benjamin. Madam Speaker, I can say, if I'm permitted to, that over the past, I've had the opportunity to sit on the National Security Committee, Joint Select Committee on National Security, to which Mr. Benjamin has presented himself for examination, and at no time did Mr. Benjamin fall in our expectation and appeared at any time, never appeared at any time to be unprofessional, discourteous, wanton or wannabe, or in any regard. So, in fact, and he was not before the law as well. But, Madam Speaker, Mr. Benjamin conducted himself with quite a high level of professionalism, and when asked in particular difficult questions, Mr. Benjamin was very clear that he would supply information to the committee subsequent, and I am pleased to also indicate that Mr. Benjamin has provided information when asked to do so to the Joint Select Committee on National Security, but also, I imagine, to other organizations, and has maintained that level of openness and so on. So in that regard, we do know Mr. Benjamin a bit more than we did the first time he came around the compound to be proposed. And his CV speaks to a lifelong service in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, a lifelong career as a career policeman, a career that began sometime around 1989 as a Special Reserve police officer and rose in the ranks to constable, corporal, sergeant, inspector, assistant superintendent of police, senior superintendent of police, assistant commissioner of police, deputy commissioner of police, and now, of course, proposed as acting commissioner of police. I don't think there's a rank in the police service this gentleman has not held, unless I'm mistaken. Not one. And has served with a level of dedication and commitment. And in a way, I feel sorry for Mr. Benjamin, as I feel sorry for other officers today, that their service has been brought into this level of disrepute and almost contempt by the machinations of some unseen, invisible hand that created the circumstances of this national scandal that we face today, that the government will like to extricate itself from. Madam Speaker, Mr. Benjamin will be in an enviable position. He will be in an enviable position. And our system, as progressive as it may be, we are not yet at the congressional system where some of us would have witnessed over the last week or so the grilling of Mr. Patel and others at the confirmation hearing. Maybe one day we will have a system where nominees like Mr. Benjamin will present themselves to the Joint Select Committee on National Security and ask to answer themselves. But in the absence of Mr. Benjamin, I can use this opportunity, to ask Mr. Benjamin questions, rhetorically, of course, and to raise issues with the conduct of Mr. Benjamin and the circumstances that he will now find himself in. It is a time, Mr. Benjamin, when the service is suffering from what is an undermining of public confidence. Public confidence before the outbreak of this latest scandal was, I believe, 15%. 15 out of every 100 citizens had confidence in the police service before last Thursday. One can only imagine what it is today. And Mr. Benjamin will take on his not too slender shoulders the burden of seeking to improve the morale of police officers to start with. Because they're already talking in the public space about who is investigator, who is not investigator, should you investigate the investigator, etc. And Mr. Benjamin finds himself in this hot seat, so to speak, that he has to navigate in terms of public trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. It is unbelievable, the damage that has been done. And the opposition told you this, warned you about this, and did not recommend certain persons, but I say no more on that. Madam Speaker, the other matter that faces Mr. Benjamin that he would have to respond to, I imagine, is, of course, further action by the incumbent, who is not suspended, who is not dismissed, who has not faced any disciplinary proceedings, but is being removed from office. And Mr. Benjamin would have to respond to this. I imagine the first course of action of Mr. Benjamin is to summon his lawyers to start writing up affidavit and writing up court documents and getting his and deposing for purposes of another place. So it is not an easy task because, Madam Speaker, Mr. Benjamin will reflect that his immediate predecessor has, in a way, demitted office without cause, without any single disciplinary action against her, and has been forced to do that. And he could well contemplate his own future. His own future. And on this side, we are fond and we find it our duty to inform public officers like Mr. Benjamin, others, but today we are dealing only with Mr. Benjamin. So I don't want to deviate from Mr. Benjamin. We are compelled to tell Mr. Benjamin, please conduct yourself in this office with the utmost fairness, transparency, impartiality, and do not fall prey to doing the dirty work of this government. The word? Yes, I'll withdraw that word, Madam Speaker. Do not fall prey to doing the indelicate work of superiors, political superiors. I think that sounds more delicate. Do not fall prey to conducting yourself that brings your office into disrepute. And then ending up like your predecessor, booted and thrown under the bus without cause. And, Madam Speaker, we hold no brief for no one in this business. None. None. We hold no brief because we are on record in certain cases as raising serious questions concerning certain appointments. So we hold no brief. I could only imagine others warning Mr. Benjamin, trying not to travel to Barbados. But that is another matter. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, so the matter has blown up in the public domain. As the Prime Minister indicated, the Prime Minister says he has no business today, I imagine, dealing with the Police Service Commission. But it was the same Prime Minister who had a business in an earlier debate about the EBC and the name of seats. But today is the Police Service Commission, Madam Speaker. It is not any other business. But Madam Speaker, so I've spoken in passing about the circumstances that brought us here. I have mentioned the issues related to the various notices and so on. I've raised concerns about the process and the very Police Service Commission following their own processes and so on. And, Madam Speaker, today in this country, I don't want, again, I cannot hold up and display anything, but to remind the country and to remind members of this House that this is not an easy time. This is a time of great distress. One headline today, Earlier to sue. Next one, cops go back to DPP. Next one, PM tells us what you know. PM, tell us what you know is a question. So, Madam Speaker, these are the issues of the day. And to focus, as the government will like us to focus, only on, specifically on the, to focus only on, looking at this now, the University of the West Indies Bachelor of Science degree and the Bachelor of Law degree. To focus only on this is really to bring the entire debate into a state of contempt, that you ignore the concerns in the national community, that you ignore it, that you stuff your head, as they say, plant your head in the proverbial sand, and ignore the circumstances and the context and the crises that the country is facing today, because we are concerned with the diploma in legal practice. Madam Speaker, it cannot be that the government will bury their heads in the sand on this issue and allow circumstances, and I want to say, no one here will know where those circumstances will lead to on the end point. It could be that millions of taxpayers' dollars must still be spent on compensating person A or B. Mr. Benjamin may play a role in that as well. because Mr. Benjamin, as I said before, is a central figure now, assuming he is approved by the House, will be a central figure in matters elsewhere. So it is relevant we submit to this debate. It is relevant that we can end up charging the taxpayer millions and millions of dollars for the mistakes of this government in bringing certain appointments here. And notwithstanding the concerns of the opposition, having their way, putting square pegs in wrong holes. Not only at the police, in the police service, but at the commission level as well. We raised questions concerning that. So, Madam Speaker, those are some of the issues we wish to make now within the very tight constraints of the debate. I imagine colleagues opposite may intervene, and then our own colleagues on this side of the House may use the opportunity to continue and to respond to issues raised. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Minister of National Security. Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I just want to say that words mean different things to different people. When I spoke a while ago, I specifically chose my words very carefully. But that didn't seem to impress my colleague from Orapooch. Because when I said that today I'm taking a position on this matter in front of us, today, my colleague from Orapooch saw it fit to compare today with yesterday. It was the chairman of his party who said yesterday was yesterday and today is today. Like he didn't learn anything there either. But the matter before us today is not the same matter that was before us on any other day. So I have no excuse to make to my colleague about attempting to compare a position I take today on information I had on other matters at a previous occasion. That was just making up time. I must say, Madam Speaker, that I don't normally feel very sorry for my colleague for Orapooch. I know he can handle himself. But he did struggle today. My colleague did, but he brought a very useful, today's a special day. Calculated struggling, right. Madam Speaker, he did take, my colleague from Orapooch did take the opportunity to read the guidelines for the service, for the police service acting arrangements. What is a guideline? A guideline is not an infinite description of circumstances that will arise. But more importantly, even as my colleague read the specifics of the guideline, whether it's vacation the person is on, whether it is sick leave, whether, the guidelines went on to say any other. That phrase, any other, is a catch-all phrase. It's I may put it a little more elegantly. It's an omnibus phrase. Thank you, my colleague from Port Spain South. So what it means is, if what is listed there doesn't cover what is required, then you are not stopped from doing it. Because under other, any other, like in this case, the substantive holder of the post is not sick, is not on vacation leave, is not out of the country, but the police has indicated to the Police Service Commission that she's under investigation for serious criminal conduct. That is what the fact is. So that's caught in the omnibus. It's on the bus. So that's a non-point. He could have saved us all that time. But he wants to mislead the public. Or should I take that back? No. He wants to sell a point that something is wrong with the operations. Madam Speaker, that point was not made by him. And in this case, there's another point I want to touch on, where my colleague tried to compare what I said and put words in my mouth that I did not say. I was very careful to say that except when I spoke to a commission, the Bliss-Prasad Commission, providing them with information from the National Security Council, that I have never spoken to anybody on any police service commission. There have been 2 commissions since then. Certainly not the one Judy Jones led, nor the one that exists now under Wallace. I can say without fear of contradiction in any quarter that I have never communicated with any of those persons on any of those 2 commissions. So I could say that. There are colleagues of mine and other people in the public domain, some with silk on their shoulder as well, who are very happy in being confidently wrong and would love to speak their positions of extremity based on ignorance of facts. I am not like that, Madam Speaker. When I stand, and I stand predominant, I like to do so on facts. And I will simply say to the public on this occasion that these matters are there and they are to be observed. Persons are in jobs, and when you hear about an ongoing investigation, don't pretend to know that you know everything. That's why there's an investigation. An investigation is meant to elicit information which might be pertinent to the concerns that are before us. My colleague from Orapuch made a crescendo of saying that the Prime Minister is now in it, so therefore the Prime Minister is involved in it. Let me just clarify this again, Madam Speaker, for you and for the public. Up until the police wrote me, and I think that correspondence came to me on Sunday or Monday, asking me in my capacity as chairman of the National Security Council whether I can answer a question that the police wanted answered. And it had to do with the work of the commission having granted certain approvals. That is the sum total of what was asked of me. I could have done like another prime minister who was asked a question by the police, by the AG office, when the state was in court, and say, I'm not answering. But I didn't do that. As chairman of the National Security Council, the police asked a question of me that was pertinent to the council's work. In discharging of my duty without fear or favor, malice or ill will, I got the National Security Council to find the appropriate answer, and I have since submitted that to the police for onward transmission to the Director of Public Prosecution. That's what I've done. So I don't know why my colleague is coming here and pretending that somehow something earth-shattering has happened, because I know full well that because I have done that answering a question of the police, that is quite possible that somebody may cite me as a witness. Madam Speaker, that's par for the course. When I was expelling trespassers in the Nari River swamp to preserve the swamp as a Ramsar site, I was summoned to court as a minister of government. I had to go to San Fernando and sit down in the dock to be cross-examined by Ramesh Lawrence Mirage. But, Madam Speaker, I said I took an oath to act without fear or favor, malice or ill will, and I deal with truth. So if I'm summoned to court, nobody in here or in the country should have any fear. So I don't have to do like my colleague and say, I'm not answering you. The police asked me a question, and that question came to me long after this became a public spectacle. Understand that? So there's nothing mysterious about this. And there's nothing mysterious about the question, and nothing mysterious about the answer, except, you can come to your own conclusion as to when I was asked that. So we move on. My colleague from Orapuch, happens he somehow knows enough. My colleague is not prepared to accept the work of the commission. The commission, Madam Speaker, I would like my colleague from Superior to not disturb me. My colleague from Orapuch is quite free to not accept the work of the commission. But I made it very clear here, Madam Speaker, that the reason why we are here is because the commission saw it fit to advise the president that a vacancy occurs as a result of actions of the commission took based on its interaction with the police. That's what it is. So to come and say that the commission was made to demit office without cause, has he tried the matter? If he wants to be irresponsible, he can do that. If he wants to hear about an ongoing investigation, an ongoing criminal investigation, and he knows that somebody was demitted office without cause, then what he's saying, Madam Speaker, is that my colleague from Superior is saying that, Orapuch. He's saying that he has no confidence in the office of the Director of Public Prosecution. That's what he's saying. I am not saying that. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, I spoke on Friday evening late in Moruga. And I want to repeat what I said there. And I'm saying it again in the House. That if it is that there are allegations against any person, in this case, the Commissioner of Police, that such allegations would be subject to the independent office for monitoring and the direction of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. And insofar as in this case it is the Commissioner of Police, there's another layer, and that layer is the Independent Police Service Commission. And that I expect that the law will take its course. And the fact that the law in taking its course, a question was put to me. I am just another citizen, another office holder. So, Madam Speaker, I don't know that I'm impressed with my colleague trying to stir up some kind of narrative in the country that the commissioner has been removed and demit office without cause and without disciplinary process. That is not the position that I will hold or I will advance. And to say that he holds no brief for anyone, but go on to say that she is booted under the bus. Madam Speaker, it is that kind of inflammatory language from office holders who should know better and who I know better. But they believe that they can incite and instill a reaction from the public, which would be to their benefit. Madam Speaker, I would want to warn my colleagues that in situations like this, that you may want to temper your exuberance in acting while you are confidently wrong. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Honourable members, the question is, be it resolved that a notification of the President of the nomination by the Police Service Commission of Mr. Junior Benjamin to act in the office of Commissioner of Police be approved. All in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Whereas Section 1231, subsection A of the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, the Constitution, provides that the Police Service Commission shall have the power to appoint persons to hold or act in the office of Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police, and whereas Section 123, subsection 3 of the Constitution provides that the Police Service Commission shall submit to the President a list of the names of the persons nominated for appointment to the office of Commissioner or Deputy Commissioner of Police, and whereas Section 1234, let me read that over, excuse me. And whereas Section 123, subsection 4 of the Constitution provides that the President shall issue a notification in respect of each person nominated under subsection 3, and the notification shall be subject to affirmative resolution of the House of Representatives. And whereas the Police Service Commission has submitted to the President the name of Mr. Kurt Simon, Assistant Commissioner of Police, as the person nominated to act in the office of Deputy Commissioner of Police. And whereas the person has on the whereas the President has on the 31st day of January 2025 issued a notification in respect of the nomination. And whereas it is expedient to approve the notification, be it resolved that the notification of the President of the nomination by the Police Service Commission of Mr. Kurt Simon to act in the office of Deputy Commissioner of Police be approved. Madam Speaker, once again, I should say that it is the view of the Commission, given the action it has taken on the matter which has just attracted our attention, which is the suspension of the Commissioner of Police and the recommendation to appoint Mr. Benjamin, who is substantively a Deputy Commissioner, by elevating a Deputy Commissioner to act as Commissioner, that establishes a vacancy at the level of Deputy Commissioner. So in this case, the Commission is expressing its intention to appoint Assistant Commissioner Simon to act in that position of Deputy Commissioner. Madam Speaker, Mr. Simon, who substantively is an Assistant Commissioner, has before, this House would know because he came before the House before, has acted as Deputy Commissioner twice. And therefore, he is known to us. And we had adjudicated on him, and now we are called upon to adjudicate with respect to him filling the position as acting Deputy Commissioner. Madam Speaker, I recall that at an earlier time, given the mundane nature of this matter, where elevating an Assistant Commissioner to act as Deputy Commissioner is something that will arise from time to time in the service. And we in this House, some of us in this House felt that we didn't want to be burdened by such a mundane action. But others felt that it must be the work of the House. On every occasion, whether it's for 1 day or 1 year, that the House must adjudicate on this kind of acting, or someone acting in the police service. Unfortunately, those of us who felt that that should have been left to the Commission did not prevail, and now the Commission is asking the Parliament again, as the Commission must do on every occasion, that the Parliament should convene and determine who should act when there's a requirement for an acting in the police service, even if it is for an assistant commissioner to act as deputy. Madam Speaker, the matter of how acting should be dealt with is not before us. But I make that point if only to bring home to the House that, this is going to happen over and over again until we do the necessary thing. I won't say sensible, but necessary thing of allowing the Commission to make an acting appointment of an assistant commissioner, especially when that person is somebody who would have been viewed by the House before. So, Madam Speaker, qualified to act as assistant commissioner, qualified to hold the substantive position of assistant commissioner, vetted by the Police Service Commission. Today, I have nothing further to act on the work of the Commission, recommending that Mr. Simon act as Deputy Commissioner. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Honourable members, I will now propose the question for debate. Be it resolved that in notification of the President of the nomination by the Police Service Commission of Mr. Kurt Simon to act in the office of Deputy Commissioner of Police be approved. Member for Barataria-Sanwan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for recognizing me to enter this debate on the motion with respect to the appointment of Mr. Kurt Simon, Assistant Commissioner of Police, to be nominated to act in the office of Deputy Commissioner of Police. And Madam Speaker, I will start where the Prime Minister left off, where the Prime Minister indicated that certain legislation came to this House before to really bypass this entire process for the acting appointments of Deputy Commissioner of Police. But that legislation that came to the Parliament was not just for Deputy Commissioner of Police, but it was also for the acting Commissioner of Police. And that is a bill that we did not support, simply because we have no trust in this government when it comes to interference with respect to law enforcement. Because, Madam Speaker, how can we have confidence in a government who brings a bill like that when high public officials loiter around the President's house at times where merit lists are delivered at that location?
So, member, I hope that's just an introduction and you're going to go on, because we're not dealing with legislation here. Yes? Let's go on. Move on.
What we're engaged in here is a role prescribed to us by our predecessors, in that the Constitution, according to the motion, provides that when a name is sent to the President by notification, that name will then be forwarded to the House of Representatives, and that name has to be debated, approved, and then the notification comes. So we are engaged in a constitutional exercise. And Mr. Kurt Simon is no stranger to this chamber. Mr. Kurt Simon, I believe this will be the third time his name would have entered into this chamber. On 2 occasions, his name was approved, but I believe only on one of those occasions the appointment was actually made. And now this is the 3rd occasion that we're here. And this is by reason, Madam Speaker, a domino effect of what just took place with respect to the first motion. Because if Mr. Benjamin moves up the rank to acting Commissioner of Police, there's now a vacancy in the post of Deputy Commissioner of Police. There are only 3 posts of Deputy Commissioner of Police in Trinidad and Tobago. So now one becomes vacant once the appointment is made of Mr. Benjamin to act as Commissioner of Police. But, Madam Speaker, I wish not to get in any constitutional arguments. But suffice it to say, if that nomination of Mr. Benjamin is not properly made, everything falls after that. It's a domino effect. So if the legality of that is challenged, then the legality of this will also be a consequential order that the court will make. And this really, Madam Speaker, is a process. The Prime Minister earlier on said it's a guideline, but it's not a guideline, Madam Speaker, which dictates a vacancy, because we are filling a vacancy. It is actually the law made pursuant to the Constitution, because there are legal notices to guide what we do here today, Madam Speaker, and to guide the Commission to send a name to us. And that is found in Legal Notice 277, and that was published on the 25th of November 2021, and that is called the Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police Selection Process Number 2 Order 2021, at Clause 4, which says that a person acting or holding in the office of Deputy Commissioner or Assistant Commissioner of Police can be entitled or eligible to act in the position of Deputy Commissioner of Police. So Assistant will act as Deputy, Deputy will act as Commissioner. But in order for you to have an acting Commissioner, there must be a vacancy, and you must have a vacancy to fill. The member for Oropouche East earlier, and I don't want to get into that debate.
We're not here dealing with an acting commissioner. We dealt with that already. Okay? This is, again, a very narrow, specific debate. We're speaking now with respect to the filling to act as a Deputy Commissioner of Police. Let's keep there.
Yes, please, Madam Speaker. The point that I'm making, Madam Speaker, is this, as I earlier alluded, is that what we do here must be done constitutionally. That's the point. We can't have a bad appointment because this appointment will, in fact, be affected. And we have to be very careful of that. So, Madam Speaker, with respect to the government saying that they play no role in this procedure that we engaged in, that is untrue. In fact, the criteria that the Police Service Commissioner would have used to make Mr. Simon eligible to be placed on the order paper was in fact a procedure that was prescribed by the government by way of legal notice. The Cabinet makes those legal notices. And Madam Speaker, I would look, signed by the Cabinet. And Madam Speaker, I would look at the policy, which is of the Police Service Commission, which is the establishment and utilization of the Order of Merit list for the purpose of making acting appointments to the offices of Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. That is one policy. And then there's another policy, Madam Speaker, which they are guided by, and that is the policy, acting appointment policy for the offices of Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And Madam Speaker, it goes on to tell us the eligibility criteria of the candidate. So we have to examine what the criteria are in relation to the resume that is before us, because we have to make sure that the person being appointed is in fact a fit and proper person whose name is brought before this Parliament. And Madam Speaker, Mr. Simon, no stranger to this Parliament, was in fact appointed to the office already. He's a career police officer. Through his resume, we saw that he went through various training in terms of education, Masters of Science in Criminology and Criminal Justice from the UE, Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice, Police Service, COSTAT 2017, Associate of Arts in Criminal Justice with high honors again, that is COSTAT 2014. So while being a career police, he has always engaged with respect to further training and qualification, especially in terms of education. And in his resume, there are various skills and abilities that he would have, in fact, outlined, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, one important point to make is that he would have had to score the highest on that particular merit list. And I say this not in terms of the criteria, that the criteria for the establishment of the merit list was based on seniority. But when we look at the new criteria, it is now based on the merit of the candidate. So Mr. Simon, in fact, would have scored the highest on the Assistant Commissioner of Police list in order to be appointed as on the acting Order of Merit list for Deputy Commissioner of Police. So we have nothing of concern on this side, Madam Speaker, to raise against the gentleman. As I said before, he came before this Parliament already, his name. I don't believe he was ever charged. I don't believe he ever abducted anyone from a foreign jurisdiction. In fact, I don't believe he ever arrested a Commissioner of Police. But, Madam Speaker, I think his resume is quite laudable. He has several years of training, having joined the police service in 1990, 1 year before I was born. And I think, Madam Speaker, I wish him well going forward. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has been placed in a state of uncertainty. It has been placed in a messy situation, and that is all because of the prescription and the actions of this present government. And I thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I have made 2 notes. And one is this response to my colleague from Barataria and others forever trying to make something out of the fact that I, as Prime Minister, passed a report to the Police Service Commission. Madam Speaker, let me today, since my colleague from Barataria tried as hard as he could find nothing to say, and notwithstanding his sound and fury on political platforms, comes to the House, given the floor, all of us are all ears, and all he could raise today is that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago passed a report to the Police Service Commission. Let me, for the basis of educating our children, our university graduates, our university lecturers, and our opposition politicians, that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Chairman of the National Security Council, is duty-bound, as settled by the law, to make available to the Police Service Commission any matter or report or any other matter which is pertinent to the remit of the Police Service Commission.
There's a member whose device just went out. If they could go outside, get their device under control, and they're welcome back. They need to go outside and get it under control. Prime Minister.
That was a meeting. We called the meeting.
And just in case, Madam Speaker, I didn't stop because I didn't want my colleague from Barataria to not understand what I was saying. So I'll repeat it. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, as Chairman of the National Security Council, is duty-bound in law, settled by the Privy Council, to make available to the Police Service Commission any information or pertinent matter which has to do with the remit of the Police Service Commission. That being so, Madam Speaker, I am appalled that this particular point has been led in the national discourse by a senior counsel who from time to time writes foolishness in the newspaper. And unfortunately, that's where my colleague gets his support from, talking about Prime Minister and meritless at President House. Absolute poppycock. Madam Speaker, the other point that was raised in that brief intervention from Barataria Sanwan is that I said that the government is not involved in this matter, and he's saying, my colleague from Barataria Sanwan said, no, the government is responsible. The point that I'm making, and the not involved that I'm going to repeat, is that with respect to the investigation, the submission of a complaint to the Police Service Commission, the recommendation to arrest the police commissioner, recommendation to continue finding information and evidence from the DPP's office, has absolutely nothing to do with the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The government is a separate line of operation of the state, and as you know, Madam Speaker, the government is prevented from, even if we wanted to get involved with police investigation, police recommendation to the Commission, advice to the Commission, dealing with the DPP and his recommendations and any recommendation that the DPP might make to arrest anybody in this country. It is wicked and mischievous for any member of parliament or any person in the know to give the impression that whatever difficulty the Commissioner of Police is facing now has to do with the government. Stop misleading people.
Exactly.
And insofar as the government has been approached by the police, and the government has reported answering a question raised by the police, which I have done, that cannot be properly said to be involved in the process of investigating and, in fact, ordering any action against the Commissioner of Police. We, like the rest of the country, we await the outcome of the work of the police and the advice of the Director of Public Prosecution as it has to do with the Commissioner of Police or any other person under police investigation. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Honourable members, the question is, be it resolved that the notification of the President of the nomination by the Police Service Commission of Mr. Kurt Simon to act in the office of Deputy Commissioner of Police be approved. All in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. Leader of the House.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House do now adjourn to a date to be fixed.
Honourable members, the question is that this House do now adjourn to a date to be fixed. All in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned to a date to be fixed.